I've recently taken to watching a new YouTube channel called Blimey Cow, and I don't necessarily recommend them because they do have some weird videos that are not for everybody, not everybody be entertained by them. But one of the things that they brought up recently was the difference between this is important culture and meme culture. And basically they came down to saying that the this is important culture wants you to think that everything they've ever said is the most important thing that you will ever see or hear, and the meme culture is basically not taking anything seriously, and they just want to laugh about everything and kind of pretend like the serious issues don't exist or make a joke out of them. And they got me thinking about the students that I've experienced, not just this year, but in the last 5 years, in dealing with 9 to 12-year-olds primarily. I've begun to realize that kids don't really take anything seriously anymore. There's no sense of urgency. They don't identify with emotional tugs, I guess. We were watching The Indian in the Cupboard in class the other day after we had finished reading the book, and at the end of the movie, and I will say, the kid that plays Omri is pretty goofy, and the movie is not, it's not going to win any Academy Awards. But he's upset at the end of the movie because his friend has to be sent away. And he gets sad, and he cries. And the kids kind of just shrug it off. They almost tease, like, oh man, he's crying. Like, they recognize that he is sad, but they don't empathize. There is no emotional connection between them and this character. Even though we've read the story, we've talked about the context that Omri is dealing with, and how he's maturing as an individual. And the kids in my class that have matured as individuals understand that. They don't still necessarily connect with it because it's not happening to them. But just as a whole, I'm noticing a trend, even in, as I got to thinking about this more, one of our teacher's aides at school, her daughter graduated high school this past weekend. And the kids came and walked through our middle school building to kind of just show, like, hey, we've accomplished this. And this mom was upset. She was teary-eyed. She was proud of her daughter, but sad to see her growing up, which is only natural. But as she's in the hallway crying, the kids can't help but comment on it. They don't necessarily know how to react to someone else being upset. And that's kind of a big deal. Another example, one of my students was watching a funny video in class the other day, at the end of the day, wrapping up, and he's laughing so hard that he's got tears coming out of his eyes, and he's quick to tell everybody, I'm not crying, I'm not sad, I'm laughing so hard that I'm crying. And I thought that was an interesting thing for him to worry about other people knowing that he's not upset. He's not crying. And I don't know if it's us as individuals or something is creaking hardcore. I don't know what it is. If it's us as individuals that don't want to show our emotions, or if it's we're suppressing them so much that it's starting to damage our kids. So just be aware that kids need to be able to express their emotions and recognize them in other people and empathize with them. And I think it comes down to not having the background experience. They're not forced to interact as socially as they once were. A lot of it takes place electronically, and parents are overbearing. So kids, recognize emotions. Parents, allow your kids to recognize emotions. Allow them to be upset. Allow them to be angry. Allow them to be all the things that you were allowed to be when you were younger. And force them into those situations that make them a little bit uncomfortable so that they can deal with that too. Talk to you tomorrow.